Super excited. So Stamper, Steven Stamp, Inside Lacrosse author. And wow, another exciting weekend of lacrosse. And you had just told me last week about the Hosick brothers. I know that's a little bit later in the video, but getting to watch that game and when I saw the one-on-one, I was actually pretty excited because I was like, oh, I know he wanted to talk about that, so I was able to clip it. But a bunch of uncommon highlights this week.
Yeah, well, we can start with the Hosicks. Why not? Let's just jump right in because I wrote this week in my Stamper's Musings on IL Indoor about the Hosick brothers and kind of facetiously saying, hey, which one's better? Because Graham Hosick's a three-time Defender of the Year. As I mentioned in the story, he's, if not a Lock Hall of Famer already, he's certainly on his way to that level. I mean, one of the best defenders we've seen in the game. The point I was making was, hey, his little brother, Matt, is awfully good as well. And you watch the two of them play. We haven't got that many chances to see them both playing in the same game. But when we do, it's pretty special. And we had that with Panther City, where Matt is the captain, playing at Halifax, where Graham is an alternate captain. And wow, what a match it was. And the really cool thing is they both did some great things, as they are wont to do. We're going to open up with a defensive shift for Matt, where you're going to get to see how well he plays as part of a team defense. First of all, he's often directing where guys should go as a leader out there. And in this one, he's kind of setting up in the middle of the floor, and Halifax gets a reset, and you can see him actually guiding his one teammate down. I think that's Josh Medeiros he's directing. He's out on Ryan Benesh, and then boom, slides over to Dawson Theed and knocks him flat. And Theed actually gets a shot off, but it's not much of a shot. And that is just great. Matt Hosick, in a nutshell, is a great teammate and just a great team defender. He's also a very good one-on-one defender. And we're going to see some shots of a shot of Graham a little bit later. And this is on actually a Panther City power play. And Will Malcolm makes the mistake of slipping down the middle of the slot to receive a pass and not paying attention to where Graham Hosick is. And you'll see Graham Hosick, for one thing, because he's the one who looks like he's wearing water shoes. They are shoes. They're not like socks or anything. They're just very small shoes. And he's the guy who's going to absolutely flatten Will Malcolm. And it is just a huge hit. And Graham Hosick is kind of a heat-seeking missile, but he doesn't go out of his way to try to make big hits. He just makes this hit because it's there. And Will Malcolm was going to be alert for the rest of that game and anytime they play Halifax in the future. And this is on a power play. He's able to step up and deliver that hit.
Yeah, no, that was huge for him to be able to cover the distance. And watching the game, you see a lot of times when he's sitting down there just bouncing back and forth. Like you said, he's not a guy you necessarily think of when you think of huge hits and going to be that player. But if you've ever watched him play live and you just see the reaction you get from players that run into him, not even guys he's delivering the hit, he is a solid. That's why they call him Cyborg. I mean, he's a machine out there. He doesn't ever seem to run out of gas in the gas tank, and he just goes.
And the thing with Graham Hosick, he is a super nice guy, really good to have conversations with, smart, articulate, very nice person, very open and genuine, and good to, always happy to have a chat about lacrosse. But he is a terrifying human being when you see him. Like if you go into the locker room and he has his shirt off, he has just gotten bigger and bigger, but not, I think he actually at one point a couple of years ago lost a little bit of weight because he felt he was getting too big and wasn't as agile as he wanted to be. I think he's pretty much dialed in where he wants to be, but he is huge and strong and really intimidating. He's got the head shaved down. He's got a bit of a beard going now. Matt's not as big, but he is a very good physical defender. But Graham is just an absolute nightmare for someone to see bearing down on them. And he's got crazy skills. He started off as more of a pure defender. He has really adapted himself into kind of a transition player to the point where it's like, should we be voting for him for transition player of the year instead of defender of the year? I would say stick with defender because he's just so good at it. But we're going to see his transition where he goes in, causes a turnover with a block, I believe, but he's basically going to be part of blocking a shot. I think it was either him or someone else. I think he got it. And then he runs the floor, knows exactly when to take off, And it's an absolutely lovely play because what you're going to see is the lacrosse IQ as well, where he takes this pass. He's already up near the restraining line when he gets the pass in the Panther City zone. And he pulls up, and he's got one man coming in off the bench and ignores him because he is picked up immediately, but doesn't put all of his attention right away to Austin Shanks, who is trailing off the bench. So he keeps the defenders looking at him. And then as a lane opens to Shanks, he hits Shanks, who comes in and just buries a little floater to the top far corner. And it's just great. You can see from the other angle how the defenders are all paying attention to him because they had Clark Peterson coming in off the bench. And then Hossack just draws them over, hits Shanks right in stride. It's absolutely beautiful. And then we're going to have Matt Hossack is going to have his assist in the game. And again, it's just such a terrific heads up play because he's going to go and get the ball, fight through a couple of checks, and then the speed. You see him blast over the restraining line, blast over center, comes up, and as he hits the other restraining line, Nungo Thompson slides up to him, probably a mistake defensively. That leaves Jonathan Donville. When you see the angle from behind, you can see that Thompson really had to go and take Donville. I mean, that's one of Panther City's top scorers coming in untouched, but still a very heads up play by Hossack to draw that defender. And, the two of them are just so good. And I'll tell you, Graham Hossack was on Canada's team for the 2019 World Championship, and he won a gold medal with them. He was a key player for that team. He will be on the team this fall, I would say 99%. I don't know any reason he wouldn't be unless he's got something else he has to do. Matt Hossack, probably not on that team, but you look at taking a dozen defenders, he is not far off that list. I mentioned in my story that, of the dozen defenders that I have listed as probably the most likely guys to be on that team for Canada, 11 of them definitely need to be in transition player of the year or defensive player of the year conversations this year. The other one's Latrell Harris, the defending or reigning defensive player of the year, who, if he's ready to play for this fall, I would think would be on Team Canada. It's just he's missed this entire season with an injury. I saw him a few weeks ago in Montreal. He was riding the bike. He was outside the locker room, had a chat. He said, he's hoping to be back and ready to go this summer. So he definitely is looking to be a part of that team as well. So what a group, and there could be two Hossacks on there. You never know.
No, you don't. And talking about Latrell Harris, so I think if he comes back, I think Toronto is the team to beat. Watching that game against Buffalo, I don't think they can. Like that last game I just watched when they played Buffalo. I don't see Buffalo repeating that performance offensively every night. I can see Toronto playing better though. Like when I look at that, I feel like that was a great game for Buffalo, and for Toronto, they were right in it until the end, and it wasn't like you watched that and think that was a good game for Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I think the encouraging thing for Buffalo is that their offense was clicking more broadly. It's been Josh Byrne and Dane Smith all season. They've been fantastic. They were fantastic again in that game, but it seemed like the secondary scoring was a little more involved, a little more engaged. They've got so much talent there with Dehogan Antikow and Chris Cloutier and Kyle Buchanan. I mean, the list goes on. They have a lot of talent. It just hasn't really been performing the way that you would expect them to, but it felt like it was really stepping up. I think Toronto can be better defensively. I don't think Latrell Harris is coming back this NLL season. He was put on season-ending injured reserve. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's out for the year, but I don't think the plan is for him to be ready by the end of this NLL season, but it certainly would be a great addition. I think it's huge for them that Chris Corbeil was able to come back and is looking so much better because he looked terrible last year. And I asked him about that. It was so funny when I talked to him after before this season and said, "Hey, how'd you feel about the way you played in those few games you came back for last year?" And he's like, "Awful. I was terrible." I was like, "Yeah, okay. I didn't want to be mean, but I didn't think it was you." And I think it would be insulting to say that was you that was back. He was coming back because they needed him and he was trying to help. And I thought, and then he suffered another injury before training camp this year or in training camp. So he had to miss a bunch of the season. When he came back, again, he was pretty shaky for a couple of games. I think he's just gotten better as he's gone. He's looking like the Chris Corbeil that we've known that is, a likely Hall of Fame player. And I think that's a huge addition for them. I think Mitch Snoo's still really good. Brad Cree didn't have a great game in that one, and
No,
he's got to
watching
be
it,
better.
Cree was
Yeah,
he usually plays better, so you definitely expect more. But that they
yeah,
really abused Cree pretty bad when you watch that. I was clipping through the highlights of the game, and I was like, wow. This is a
yeah,
bad night for Cree. And I mean, the good thing is you don't expect that every night. And it was kind of
no.
like New York. I mean, Dunkerley just what happened?
Well, I mean, what happened was he's a young goalie, and good young goalies have nights like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it starts and it just doesn't stop. And that's going to happen sometimes. And unfortunately for them, it happened in that one. That was a pretty big game for them. But I mean, that's why we all say, hey, is New York a legit contender with Dunkerley right now? He's a good young goalie. He's going to be a very good goalie. Good young goalies are not generally consistent. Is San Diego a legitimate title contender with Chris Origlieri? He's been awfully good this year. Hasn't had many off nights. Will he have some? I would think so. If you're San Diego, you hope he has maybe one or two during the season and not in the playoffs. But he's been, to my mind, he has been amazing for a young goalie. How consistent he's been. But any young goalie, there are going to be challenges like that. So it helps a team to have someone like Nick Rose, a real veteran, is having his best seasons. A Doug Jameson, obviously a Matt Vince, not having his best season, but he's still Matt Vince. Christian Del Bianco. Let's talk Christian Del Bianco, shall we?
Yeah, I get to watch a lot of these because of my buddy Owen. So with him, I watched El Bianco, and I made a short, I don't know, a few weeks ago that I said, is this the best transition tandem, in the league? And I think when they're both on, they are, because yes, this week he didn't have the assist, but
Mm-hmm.
he still is such a part of just getting that offense started. It gives him
Yeah.
such an advantage. He's so lethal with that pass.
Yeah, we're going to go back a couple of weeks to when he had 3 assists against Georgia, but he was also doing it this week. We're going to see some highlights of Christian Del Bianco in the new section, Uncommon Highlight. We're going to see some highlights of Christian Del Bianco in the new section, Uncommon Highlight. Brought to you by Uncommon Fit Custom Athletic Apparel. You can reach Jamie Plunkett at Uncommon Fit at the contact info.
Links in the description for everything. You'll just be able to click the
There we
button.
go.
It'll bring you right to a place to contact Jamie Plunkett and let him know that you heard it
Brilliant.
from here.
Brilliant. And we're going to talk about the jersey in a bit, but we're going to start with an uncommon player, Christian Del Bianco, who has since 2018 80 assists as a goalie. The next person in that time, Dylan Ward with 54. Nick Rose has 50. Nobody else has more than like 29 or 30. It's unbelievable. He hits Shane Simpson for outlet passes. And the crazy thing is this year he has 15 already. And Zach Courier only has 1 goal off of these passes. It got to the point for Courier where when he finally scored his goal, he kind of reached up behind him and threw the imaginary monkey off his back because he felt so snake bit, like he had that monkey on his back. Del Bianco, first of all, he makes a ton of saves. He's a great goalie. He's so athletic, kind of a Rylan Hartley style, the way Hartley can just pop down the splits, pop up. But Del Bianco will pop down, make the save, pop up, ready to throw the pass, and be really precise with it. And he'll hit Shane Simpson all the time. Simpson has 7 of the goals that Del Bianco has primary assists on this year. The other 3, Zach Courier, Tyler Pace has one, and Harrison Matsuoka is actually the other one. But yeah, he's so lethal with these passes because he's so quick, he's so accurate, and he's so smart at knowing when to go. And it's interesting, early in his career, he did what a lot of good passing young goalies do, which is try to make the breakout pass all the time at times, right? And he figured it out. And Kurt Malosky, coaching at the time, said, hey, you don't always have to make that throw. You don't always have to be going after the long bomb. You can figure out when to go. And you can see he's up so quick. He's ready to throw so quick, but he also is pretty smart about when he's going to throw these passes. And that is why he has almost twice as many assists over the last 6 years, or over the 6 years of his career that he's been a regular as anybody else, and he is well on his way towards Patty O'Toole's all-time, career record, which is 100 and I think it's 164, and Del Bianco has 80. So he's well on his way, and he's putting up a ton of assists every year. So it's pretty remarkable, a very uncommon skill for a goaltender to have, to be that good at passing.
Well, and another uncommon thing for Christian Del Bianco is, you taught me this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about him. I didn't realize he's been starting in the NLL since he was 18.
Yeah, I mean, he was drafted and came into the league when he was 18, started when he was 19.
Yeah,
became a regular starter.
Yeah, that's just insane to me that at that point a 19-year-old kid is playing with him, and as you see, he did not get off to the best of the beginning of the year for him, but he's coming along now, and it's just been great. And what a game! Only 13 goals in that game, though. I mean, you talk about the two goalies, and he had like 50 saves, I think.
54 saves.
Yeah.
Only allowed 7 goals, and they lost because Christopher Origlieri was pretty much his equal at the other end. Didn't face as many shots, but only allowed 6 goals. Origlieri was great too. Brody Merrill returned in this game, which is a huge deal for San Diego. Now, I think it's huge that he was able to come back now and get some games in, because he looked rusty in this game. I think it's fair to say he was interviewed at halftime, and the sideline reporter asked how he felt about it and how he felt he was playing. He said, he basically said, yeah, it feels fast. It feels fast out there. And I thought he was chasing a bit. I thought he looked like he hadn't played. But, I mean, he's 42 years old and he hasn't played for about a year. So it's remarkable that he was able to come in and adjust as quickly as he did. And I think getting the 5 or 6 games in before the end of the season is going to have him back ready to contribute in a big way for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I was impressed when I watched, because I watched that game too, and me and Owen are gonna talk about it Thursday and do a little like pre-show for the Firewolves. But fortunately, when I started following box lacrosse, it wasn't long after I met Owen, and he told me, about Delbs, and he tries to get a picture with him after every game almost, and he said he's not only an amazing goalie, but such a nice guy. Always says hi. He's just a great, seems like a great human being from all accounts. They donate, what is it, $500? I think he donates an assist.
Every assist.
Yeah, for the kids, the Calgary kids sport. A lot of great things happening up there. Absolutely, definitely not your common man with all that he's accomplished so far in his young career.
Definitely the uncommon highlight of the week. And he's a very good follow on social media. Get on him on Twitter and Instagram and that, because he's very funny.
I did have to say, though, he commented the other day about the turf, and I was like, really? Anybody? If you heard it from any other team besides somebody who plays for the Roughnecks, you're like, yeah, no, the Rush turf is terrible, but Calgary's not far behind.
Somebody replied to it, said friendly fire. Was that you? That was a great reply.
Yeah, it's kind of, I was like, it's kind of ironic that you commented on it when you guys have probably the worst turf in the NLL. But
I don't know. He plays on it. He probably was referring to it. I don't know. Maybe not. I shouldn't put words in his mouth. But yeah, no. Although he did say bright turf, and the Calgary turf isn't bright per se. It's more, basically it's camouflage for the ball.
Yes,
is what it is. I mean, you can't see the ball, at least on the broadcast.
Well, and that's the thing, because Owen said to me when we first started watching the games, he's like, I don't ever watch the home games on stream.
So can they see the ball in the arena?
Yeah, because he sits right on floor level. He's in the first row. Okay. So for him, he's not really looking down at the turf. He's basically sitting eyeball level to it. Right. So he
can see the ball in Saskatchewan.
Yeah,
as long as their eyeballs survive the searing. But yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's that was good. And now let's
take a look at this jersey from Uncommon Fit. This is an Australia jersey, a number 3 James Suffolk jersey. This is from the IIJL World Junior Men's Championship, and it's apropos. For one thing, it's just a great jersey. They're just gorgeous jerseys. I love the ones they've got. This doesn't actually have the sublimation on the shoulders. This was a prototype, but they're gorgeous jerseys, and every year it's such a great job that Plunk does for the IIJL teams. And IIJL just announced recently that last year they were planning to have a World Junior Women's Championship. This year they've just announced they're taking applications, planning to have it in Utica, this end of August, beginning of September. Australia shared that news, so I'm assuming they're planning to send a team. Box lacrosse is taking off in Australia. It's really cool. They've got great jerseys. They've got great people doing the work to make it happen, and they've got people like I know Keith Nyberg, who has been on. I don't want to say the number because it's a lot. I don't want to get it wrong, but he has been representing Australia at World Field and Box Championships for about 20 years or so. And he is back. He has made the team for this year. Very exciting. I'm hoping to get him down into the booth to call a game in Utica this fall, because we did some games in 2015 in Onondaga, which was a lot of fun. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and speaking of which, our broadcasters will now no longer have that lag of a half a second where you hear yourself in that awkward silence. That's now gone. I'm super excited about that. The NABLL is actually taking a trip to Australia. It's
Really?
Yeah, they just sent out an email. They're looking for a couple more guys to shore up the team, but they're basically sending. It's not really an all-star team because it's not like guys were selected. They found people that were willing to, and had the time to be able to
Right.
take off. But I think they're going for. I forgot how long it was. I'll have to look at it and yeah, but they're planning the trip out there because they just got a discount on their flights, being able to do a group rate. So.
Nice. So it's not quite an all-star team. It's an all can afford the flight and has time off to go
pretty,
team.
pretty much.
Fair
It's
enough.
one of those.
Fair enough. That's fair. That'd be great. I haven't had a chance to get down yet. It was going to go the year of the pandemic. We were actually getting ready to go for the Commonwealth Cup, and I kept talking to the organizer, Chris Fox, and saying, "Are we really going? Things seem to be kind of starting to get a little sketchy here." And he said, "Yeah, I think we're on. It's like 14th, 15th of March, 16th of March." And I was like, I don't know. I think like we're closing our salon because of this. And finally we get the call. He's like, yeah, we're not going. And we're like, okay. And good thing we would have been leaving. The Canadian group I was going to fly down with would have left Toronto, and I would have gone out of Toronto, flown to Vancouver. The whole group was gathering in Vancouver to fly down to Melbourne. And during the time that our flight would have been in the air from Vancouver to Melbourne, Australia imposed their COVID restrictions. We would have been stuck at the hotel for 2 weeks, then get on a flight and go back to Canada, hopefully. It would have been insane. So I would love to get down to Australia for some lacrosse at some point, get down and see their beautiful outdoor box and just everything that's going on down there. So
Yeah, no, it's got to be exciting. I've never been. I would love to go at some point, but this is the contact sheet. Here's Jamie's at Uncommon Fit. Like I said, the link will be in the description, and make sure you get a
beautiful.
hold of them. Thank you very much for reaching out and sponsoring the Uncommon Highlight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Uncommon, this was actually a pretty unusual thing. You mentioned I was calling some Arena Lacrosse League games on the weekend. It's really fun. One of the things I really like about doing the Arena Lacrosse League is you get to see a bunch of guys who are playing for the love of the game, really, really driving themselves to try to get where they want to be, or just continuing to play because they love it. And you see guys who are kind of the next wave of players to be going to the National Lacrosse League. Aaron Woods was playing for the Peterborough Timbermen and then went to Halifax, was signed by them partway through this year, and has been terrific. I don't think he's coming back. The Timbermen are really happy that he made it to the NLL and that he's doing so well with Halifax. They would love to have him for their playoffs, which begin this coming weekend. But I did get to see Sam Forbes, who I was unfamiliar with. He's a junior B goalie from Elora, played for the Mohawks last year. They were very good. They came 17-3, won a round of the playoffs and lost in the second round. He is back. Brindley Wilson is back. He was 17 last year, scored 105 points. It was unbelievable. As just a young player, he had 48 goals and 57 assists for the Mohawks. He's back. They have an affiliation now with the Burlington Blaze, the defending Minto Cup champions. So there'll be a chance, because you can imagine a 17-year-old that gets 105 points for a very good junior B team. There are junior A teams crowding around, trying to get to him and get him to sign up. But Elora players love staying and playing in Elora. He has made a commitment to them for the summer, but because of the affiliation, he'll be able to go up and play junior A with the Blaze, as will Sam Forbes. And we're going to see some of his highlights for an Oswegan Bears team that had just 9 of their own runners, had 3 call-ups to run, plus Sam Forbes in net. And basically, most of these highlights that we're seeing that you've put together so nicely are on penalty kills. and he is just so steady, so calm, moves really well, great positioning. You can see he's always keeping himself square, ready to go. He senses when he has to go, when he has to stay on his post. Just a fine young goaltender. I think he's going to have a great year. You look at someone like Burlington last year, and they had such a great season winning the Minto Cup. A big part of it, they brought in Deacon Knott as the goaltender. They traded for him from Peterborough. They also brought in Ben Trumbull, who was the transition player of the year. Knott was a finalist for goalie of the year, and Zach Thompson also had a big season for them, helping them win the Minto. Thomas Kizek was their backup goalie. He was with Nepean and came as an unaffiliated player, came and played for the Blaze and helped them. He actually played a game in the playoffs when Knott was out. And now we've got someone like Sam Forbes, who's 19 and played so well in this Arena Lacrosse League game. And he is committed to being with the Mohawks this year, but he should get some chances because Knott has gone on to senior lacrosse. So he won't be available. Kizek becomes the starter, but you've got Thomas Kizek and Sam Forbes. Just great stories of young junior B goalies who have really showed their stuff and are moving. Will have a chance, I think, to play a lot of junior A. And it's pretty fun. You can see how well Sam Forbes moves here, right, as a youngster. And this is, again, a team that only had 12 runners. One of them got hurt. One of their call-ups got hurt fairly early in the game. They played this game with 11 runners. They won the game by about 3 goals. And he was the first star, and he was just terrific. And all those saves again that he's making that we saw, those are while they're shorthanded.
Well, and for such a young man, when you watch, so he spins around on the one, and just knowing when to spin, when to hold still, when to stay big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for a young man, especially to be playing up there, and that was his first ALL game.
I heard it was his second ALL game, but it's the first that I've seen. And I'm not sure. People are also telling me he was 16 or 17, which is not true. I got to know from the commissioner, Paul St. John, who pointed out, no, you can't play as a 16 or 17-year-old in the league. He's 19 with the Junior B Mohawks. And what a summer they're looking forward to with him and Brindley Wilson back. And very exciting. They will be obviously aiming to be at the Founders Cup, which will be very close to them. It's in Hamilton this August. So the Hamilton Bengals Junior B team will be there as the host, and another team from Ontario will be in with them. Obviously, Allura would like to be that team. I think they have a very good shot at it. The Junior B League in Ontario is massively competitive every year. I mean, you've got your Six Nations, you've got Orangeville, you've got Clarington Gales, you've got so many teams that are so competitive that any given year it's really tough to come out of. Last year, the Akwesasne Thunder actually wound up being a just above 500 team in the regular season, but getting really hot in the playoffs. Sugga Thompson, the son of Mike Thompson, former Bandits goalie and an NLL goalie of the year at one point, actually was the star for them last year. He's a young player who had a great playoffs. And another, like, Junior B seems to be the breeding ground for goalies at this point. There are a lot of guys coming from Junior B that go up to Junior A, play very well, and are moving on. And I think it's fascinating to see that progression for these guys.
Yeah, no, that's exciting, and I'm excited about it because we will be covering the Junior B Tomahawks all of their home games this season. So I obviously they're hoping to make it to the Founders Cup. Onondaga trying to ensure that they get to make it again. And there's a brand new Allegheny Arrows team in that league, so I'm really
That's in the
excited.
First Nations Lacrosse League, right?
Yep.
Yeah, or Lacrosse Association, FNLA.
Yeah. So
what are you wearing?
this is a Tomahawks Senior Bs.
Yeah, there you go. I might just be breaking out a Tomahawks jersey in a little.
I'm excited about being able to cover the Junior B. I got to do a few games last year, and it's so much fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Junior B is good lacrosse. The President's Cup is a great tournament. I think it was actually better last year because Akwesasne was a kind of a middle of the road Ontario team. Ontario teams have tended to dominate. They've won something like 47 out of 51 Founders Cups, and sometimes in dominating fashion. But it was interesting with Akwesasne there last year out in Port Coquitlam, which they put on a great show. Terrific President's Cup Founders Cup out there, and I think Hamilton's going to do an excellent job. I think it'll be really exciting to to hopefully, I hope to get a chance to be a part of that one.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right, so as always, thanks so much, Stephen Stamp, for all that you do and educate us with. We really appreciate it. Check out his musings on Inside Lacrosse. You go on the site, click IL Indoor. There's links in the description, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And you can go to my Instagram, and I want to send a shout out to Morgan. She's the girlfriend of Jeff Geddes. She was at the game on Saturday, and she came over to say hi. We're chatting. We met at the Lax night. We're having a nice chat. And they drive in from Rochester about 3.5 hours for every one of his games, then drive back after the game. Unbelievable commitment from him and from her. And I was saying, because Jeff's going to be playing Senior B this summer. And she couldn't quite remember where. And I said, well, here, add me on Facebook and ask him and send me, or on Instagram. And she's like, okay, what's your handle? I'm like, Stamplax1234. It was so stupid. I didn't know at the beginning. It was new. It was an early thing. And I got that on, and you can't change it. And she's like, you can now. I'm like, really? So now my Instagram handle is at Stamplax. Stamp_lax. No 1234. I love it. And you're muted.
I love it because I got to change the description, so I'll make sure I do that. He played for Allegheny last year. He also played for the Eddie.